Hello and welcome to another tutorial regarding Firebase, View, and our e-commerce and web store. In this tutorial, I will explain how to add a user detail section, okay? How to use the information of the login so we can have the user logged in and even ask if the user already is stored on the cache, so we don't have really to ask the login all the time. Okay, so first of all, I will add in the HTML side a new div which will be above the other two divs here that will be in charge of showing, of detecting if there is a need to show it will be called user data. Yes, and I will create a new variable called by user logged. If this is true, it will show this section, and if it's not, it will show all this down here. Okay, so we will do this and create another div, this, which will be user login register panel. Okay, let's like this. And we will cut this and put it in here. So now I've just added an option in which I can control if the user is already logged in. So I will show this section, or if you're not an authenticated user, it will show this. So remember that this will be like, we have to put the inverse of this Boolean variable. Again, at the beginning, we'll add this variable. We'll define it as false because originally, when we execute our web page, it will be the login register login should be the visible side. I mean, originally the user is not logged, so it will show this part here. Now, there is a small problem. Okay. Wait a second. Let me try to take this out. So now it's showing it. Okay, now it's going. I don't know why I didn't before. Now it is working. We will save all of the files, maybe because it didn't save all. No, we'll cancel this as this is just for the. Okay, so now it is showing this section, and if I turn this into true, it will disappear and it will be empty. And it should be empty because it's the case in which the user already exists. Again, this is the case. So for the user data section, I will just create a number of, let's say, just very simple. I will leave this to anyone who wants to develop. Because we have this object here, the logged user data, we can always try to show the information of the logged user data here. But besides that, I will create another. This is the logged user data, and this also represents the data of the user that just of the authentication side. But we will also create in the FireStore a section called UserData collection, okay, which will represent an object that will contain all the information that the authentication really can't show. For example, a name, and so on and so on. You have to understand that in the FireStore, the authentication only shows this information: the identifier, the provider, the created date, and the most important part, which is the ID. What we will do is take this ID, copy it, go to the database and create a new collection that will represent all the users of our web page. The ID won't be auto-generated. It will be precisely the same ID as the user, the ID that was associated in the authentication. And the reason is that we will link the authentication user to the collection side user information. Name, Yoni, for example. Another field will be, for example, interests. Let's put, I don't know, tech. So these fields here do not really exist in this section. This one is completely static. We cannot add fields here. Okay, we cannot touch the fields that it has here, but we can add another section in the data store, in the FireStore, which will represent the user itself. And once we log in, we will ask the web page to get the information of that user. Okay, so you know that here, once he logs in, when he creates this sign up, we will have here to call this Firebase and ask for that specific information. We have the FS, which represents, as you can see here, a connection to FireStore. We will import this here, first of all, FS, and we will use it down here. Once we receive the OK that the user got connected, we can do this. Call the FS and execute a request to a specific section of the collection. We can put here the collection path, which is users, as we remember. And then we can tell him to give us a specific document, okay? It will ask for the document path inside the collection. In this case, it's the ID of the document. As remember, the ID is the one here, yes? It's the same as we copied from here. So we're gonna copy this and put it here for now. To be honest, we're not going to put it static, but for now, let's try it this way. Okay, and this will return a document. So the following step will be to put here a get request, a get usage of the method, which again, we are really adding one after the other. If we want, we can always define it differently. We can first define the reference of the path, for example, will be like this, and then we can then execute this here, so it looks separate, yes? And when you execute the get, you're telling him to get that information, and then you have to add the then section, because again, it will be an asynchronous call, and inside the then we can follow up with either with the following code here. I'm gonna copy it. Something that will look like this. This will first the snapshot. The snapshot is the representation of the code of the document, and it will here in the snapshot that data will have the information of the document, which is specifically the information that we have inside the document itself, which is just a second, the user information here. Okay, now I'm also interested in storing his ID as well. So instead of doing this in the UserData call, we will store, we will use the data call to store it, but first we'll do like this. So here we'll have all the snapshot instead of the data snapshot. Okay? If we want to test this, we can, well, you know what? Let's leave it with data because the ID, we already have the ID in this one here. Okay? Let's try it. But first, if we want to try it, we have to, when I use the console, if you used slint, you have to disable it if you want to use the console side, okay? The console is not really they're trying to take it out of they don't want to use us, they want to allow us to use it anymore, but for now I will use the console to debug a bit and see what happens. I will print the final result of this request here, okay? And we will see if it eventually shows me the information that I'm requesting. In the end, I should receive here the collection linked to the user with this ID, okay? And to be sure, we can just put the name here and see what happens. If we go here and we execute the web page and we try to log in, as you can see, it eventually gave me the right result. Do you see? After it logged in and the identification went well, it went to the user collection and downloaded the user with this ID. Now, that's because I put the ID fixed here, but the idea, the true idea here is to link, because if I do this and I leave it like this, it will always download the same user. The idea is to do this. If I do this, or I think it's ID or UID, we'll check it out now. It should download each time you connect with a different user, it will download the information of the user that just logged in. Well, it fails because there's nothing called, probably because this is not really a thing. I have to check out what is the Firebase user UID. I think it's UID or GUID. I have to check it out. Yeah, it should be UID. So if it doesn't work, let's try like this. Sorry. Again, if I log in, okay. 1 second. Let's print and see what exactly the user data has to show me the UID. I mean, it can be that it's not really it's undefined. If I put an ID only, again, it's undefined. 1 second. Hi, so the reason it's failing, it has to do mainly because of a concept, okay? Firebase defines that any change on the user side will not be answered through here, but through a different listener method called onAuth state change. Listener methods are methods that receive changes in events, or event changes, okay? Specifically, in this specific case, the auth element object, which is the one who is in charge of the sign in, for example, contains an on out state change. Okay, this is a listener method that will execute a method that we will give it, okay, once it detects a change in the user. Okay, it will look like this. First, we call this this method itself, and it asks us to give him the name of the method here that we want to use as, for example, as a communication method. We will define it right here. Out authentication state changed, for example, which will be another function, or like any other function. The only difference is that it will be used to it will be given for the Firebase to use to communicate with us, and as an entry variable we will receive here the user. Why I'm doing all this? Because this thing here doesn't really work. Okay, we'll have to move all this from here to here into here. Okay, we won't use that we will use this now, and here as well. Okay, and eventually this is much easier. The thing is that listeners are how can I say, listeners are something that we still have from object-oriented programming, and listeners really are no other than just functions that that we use to send to other functions, to other objects that they know where to talk to us through. So now everything that happens in here is not really necessary because the information will receive it here. If I execute now the code, okay, yeah, and remember that here we have to put, if you want to call the function, you always have to put a this to this name here. So that's why it's telling me it doesn't really identify it. Right now, it's like this, okay? And now I will explain why this is happening. I will explain it in a second. But let's clean the console and let's try to log in. If I do this, yeah. Well, okay, so let me explain a bit what's happening. Right now it's working because the user ID is detected. Okay, let me refresh again the web page. You will see that once it's refreshed, it makes the connection automatically. The reason is that it's stored in the cache that we are already logged in. The session is active, so it's already doing the job to detect if the user was or not logged in. If we don't want this to happen, we have to add here the option to log out. Okay, so because I already logged in and the browser already detects an old session open, it immediately goes through here. Okay, so he's doing the right thing right now. He is detecting I'm logged in. He is executing the auth change method. He downloads the information and stores it in the user data collection. We can take out this. Okay, if the document doesn't exist, it will show us this. Now, if you want to test it as well, we can always put the test2 session. Because it's a different session, it will connect again. This time it will work because we are changing sessions. You see, it will try, and it will try to download a document that it doesn't really exist because the second user doesn't really have a user collection here, as you can see. Okay, so with all this, we are ready to connect this side to this side here. Okay, we have the name field, so the final thing to do is to make this boolean change once he is connected. We know that if it comes through here and if it does exist, we can automatically set the BL user log to true. He is logged, everything went well. So now each time I execute the web page, it will automatically Well, it fails because there is no login, no document, and I'm trying to log in with the test 2. Now, if I log in with the test 1, with this one, it works and it doesn't show anything anymore. Okay. The problem is it's not really showing the information from here, and it's probably because I have to put the brackets so it shows there. No, sorry. Okay, take maybe because wait a second. Yeah, because I am using this user data call. So 1 second. Let's try this again. Okay, this is still not showing the information. Let's try maybe this. Let's put this here. Let's save all because it's probably, well, it's not, no, because it is saved all. The reason it's not really showing the information is because it doesn't really detect it as a variable. Let's try a double brackets. Sometimes we need the double brackets. Yeah, double brackets on a free without any kind of assign. If we leave it like in the open, we have to use double brackets. So now it's showing. Yeah, now it's showing. The problem right now is that at the beginning, before it, at the first, it's saying that it's null, okay? The reason is that at the beginning, the user data collection is null, and until it receives an answer here, it cannot really show anything, okay? To fix that, we will probably need to add some kind of, because the beginning, yeah, well, this will require some kind of this is not very, this is a, let's say that this is severe. I'm not saying it's not severe, but to fix it, we'll probably have to add some kind of because if we put this to false, 1 second, it will still try to show it. Okay. To fix that, we'll probably have to add some kind of like non-null thing here. Maybe create the object. Create an object. You just have to do like this, okay? With a field, for example, name field empty. This way, it's not going to show the problem anymore. Okay, this is how you create objects by code. Okay, we know that it has a name field. It will be set after it downloads the data. With this, you are ready to create the option. For example, now we have to add a small button, yeah, in here on this side that allows that logs out. Okay, the log out will be a method that we'll define here. Another one, let's put it here, function. Here under this one, and in this case we can execute the logout. I just don't really remember how it was. Sign out. Perfect. So if I execute this code, it will sign out. There will be a user change here. We will see exactly what is the user change, because it will change. Probably it will be to null or something, so we know precisely what happens when I log out. So the logout puts it at a null, and because it's a null, it fails. So what we have to do here is, if it detects it is null, if it's not null, we do precisely what we did until now. We just store it. We request information from the database. Sorry, I forgot here to put this. Okay, great. And if it is a null, in case this is null, we will just put this boolean to false. Let's try it again. Right now it's null because we logged out already. The session is closed. If we log in, it's in. If we try again to refresh, it already, because the session is active, it will keep us logged in. If I press log out, it will take me out. If I refresh again, because it's null, it will show me this. And now it works perfectly. Now it detects the last session. If it was logged in, it shows me directly the information of the user. If it's not, it will ask me to log in. And we don't have to do any more than this because the Firebase framework, the API, will detect alone if we need to keep the session open or not, if we have to log in again or not. And with this, we finish this section of the tutorials.